Well, thank you so much for having me. When I had talked to Amber, I said, is there a specific topic you want me to talk about? And she had said that she kind of asked a few people, and the overwhelming response was that they wanted me to address being an introvert in this business and working this business as an introvert or a yellow personality. We kind of refer to both the colors and everything. And I thought, well, that's kind of an easy one because that is something that's pretty easy for me to speak from my heart on. And I'd like to just look back at just the journey of over the past 4 years, because it is a journey and I did have to overcome a lot of things. So just going back to 4+ years ago when I signed up to sell Plexus, well, I really just signed up for the discount. I mean, I know a lot of people can say that. And I remember Jen Hawkins putting me in all these team pages, and I was messaging her going, Jen, I am not selling this. Like, I can't sell. I don't sell. That is not me. I'm not going to do it. I just want the discount. And she was like, well, I'll just add you in there. And I fully meant what I was saying. I meant it when I said I wasn't going to sell, because I truly believed with every fiber of my being that I would not be able to and I would not be successful in this. So when I talk about it, I realize that most introverts, when they join this business, there's lots of objections they have to overcome. And most of those objections are in their own head. Like, they just get in their own head. So one of the first things for me was that I remember it was like this, it was like a sliding doors moment on whether I even posted anything to begin with. And I've mentioned sliding doors moments in different calls and on Super Saturday. But what I mean by that is there was this movie with Gwyneth Paltrow, and it was how one little decision in her life, it was a seemingly like mindless little thing, whether she got on like a subway train or not, how that one little decision changed everything for her. And that's kind of how I feel about my first Plexus post. It was one of those things that I almost didn't do, but when I did do it, it changed everything for me. The reason I almost didn't do it was because I was so scared of other people's opinions. That was a big thing for me to overcome, because I didn't really know enough about Plexus at the time. I was really taking it to lose a few pounds that, since this isn't anywhere I can be totally non-compliant, I had been on anti-anxiety meds that had put about 30 pounds on me. And I had lost half of them by just eating healthy and exercise. But the other half just wouldn't go anywhere. And if anyone's ever been on those meds, that's a very common side effect. And while it was doing what it needed to do for me, it was super defeating because I'd never felt like that before. So that was kind of my why when I started, was I just wanted to see if something would help me lose the weight. But that's all I knew about Plexus. I did not know the health side. So when I was reaching out to make a post, the fear of what people would think, because I knew in other people's minds they saw me as small and I thought they would think I was taking an easy way out. So fear was a big thing for me. Fear of the unknown, fear of people's opinions, just all of the above. The other thing I was super afraid of was coming across salesy, and I was afraid that the people that I loved in my life would all of a sudden think that I was only looking at them to make me money. And that was terrifying for me. And the other thing that I was afraid of was just putting myself out there, because as an introvert, as someone, like, I overanalyze everything in my life. And so I was scared of not knowing enough about the products. I didn't know the comp plan. I was scared of just talking to people. That alone was scary for me. So these were a lot of the objections I had to overcome. Some of the ways I learned to overcome these things, well, as far as the knowledge of the products, for me, knowledge was power and knowledge was passion. The more I started digging into the products and researching the ingredients and researching candida and researching gut issues and researching all of these things, I started realizing we have the answer. And back then, I will admit, it was easier to find people's testimonies, and those built belief in me. But we still have those. It's just now we have to be a little more strategic in learning those testimonies from our teams, because when we hear them, we're like, oh my gosh, this is why I do what I do. So that was huge for me, just digging in and learning the products and not going to someone else. Like, I did not go to Jen and say, teach me about these products. I literally took the bottles and I looked at the ingredients and I dug in. Now, I'm not telling anyone that they need to be an expert on the products before they start working this business. But for me, that was something that it reassured me, because I knew that I wasn't just trying to get a sell. I was really trying to help people, and these products were the answer. Another thing that I learned was that the more I learned about these things, the more my passion shone through. So it was a little bit easier to talk to people because I was passionate about it, and they could see it, and they could see that I was not just trying to get a sell, that I believed what I was saying. So I think that is a key for introverts, is really believing. Because before that, when someone would say, what's this Plexus thing about? I was like, I don't know, I've lost a few pounds. Well, that wasn't convincing anyone of anything. But when I was able to start saying, it's changed my life, and I'd get this excited look, and they could hear it and they could see it, and that made people want to join me. The thing to remember is that I was not doing that in front of like 50 people. And I honestly wasn't even cold messaging or cold calling, because that did not feel authentic to me. And so that's one thing I need people to understand, is that you're going to have people on your teams, or you're going to have people around you that are perfectly comfortable with that. They have the personality that they don't mind jumping out and talking to someone, and they don't mind doing those things. But if that's not authentic for you, it's going to come across kind of obvious. So it doesn't mean don't do it. It does not mean don't reach out to people, but it does mean learning to connect with people in a way that is authentic and genuine to you. It's just learning what your personality, how you handle that. So for me, what that means is when I'm going to connect with someone, I'm going to do it in a one-on-one session. And that could be sitting next to, just the other night, it was at ballet with all the other moms sitting there, and I got into conversation with a mom, and she started mentioning like the eczema her son had. Well, that was an organic opening for me to start saying, well, what I've discovered from research is that a lot of that is tied to gut health. And I was able to sit there and educate her on gut health. And it was a very organic way of doing it without being like, hey, I want you to order ProBio 5. It just opened the conversation up. So that's the key, is just for some people, they are so introverted that even talking to another person is going to be hard. So I'm going to tell you, there are some comfort zone lines that you're going to have to cross. And you don't have to do it in one fell swoop. That was not the first conversation with that mom. I've been talking to her every week at ballet about random things, so that it just kind of naturally happened. You're going to have to connect with people. One really great way of doing that is friending people on Facebook. Now, the thing with Facebook is, I think sometimes people want to build their entire business on that. And while that would be awesome if we could do that, it's really not what it's intended for. Facebook is a great connector. So it helps draw people into your life. It's a way that people can see what you're doing. They can see how Plexus is in your life. If you do really good engaging posts, they can see that, and they can see that it's not going anywhere. And then that's a conversation starter when you're around them in person. So while some people might join you just because of Facebook, and you might never talk to them, and you might not ever, that's not always how it works. A lot of times you have to get out there. So I'm going to say, use Facebook as a connector, get out there with people, talk with them, connect with them in whatever way is authentic to you. The other thing I'm going to say that helped me as an introvert is I had to change my mindset. I realized that one thing I was good at that sometimes other people are not is I was really good at the writing, and a lot of introverts are. A lot of introverts are good at expressing themselves through writing, and that was an asset for me. So if that is something that is a strength for you, I would say use that as an asset. What I had to learn was I had to be vulnerable. I could write this great thing, but if I did not share how my life had been changed, then no one would connect with me. And again, this is all about connecting with individuals. It's connecting with people. It's not connecting with 50 people at one time. It's connecting with that one person that might be on the other side of the screen and see a silent struggle that they're facing that now they know you dealt with too. So that's another thing. I just kind of realized that my fear of sharing these things, my fear of opening up was really selfish, actually. I was not getting over myself. I was so scared of what other people would think that I was maybe keeping that person that was praying for an answer, and I had that answer, and all I had to do was kind of be vulnerable and open up about struggles and give them the solution. So when I realized that my fear was more selfish, it got a little bit easier for me to do that. And then I've already talked about educating yourself on that. So the one thing I want to tell people is that your personality as an introvert is an asset. It's not a hindrance. I think a lot of times it feels like a hindrance because you see what people are doing, the excitement, and you think, oh, I just don't do that naturally. When I try and do that, it's awkward. And what you need to realize is that the way you're going to connect with people is going to be totally different, but that doesn't mean it's wrong. That means that there's other people out there that might be overwhelmed by that bubbly personality that's connecting with all these people, but when they see a heartfelt post from you, they're going to be drawn to you. So realize that attribute about yourself that sometimes feels like a really hard thing that you need to overcome is not, it's not a hindrance. And if you can change your mindset on that and look at all the positives, I think you're going to see that you have a lot to bring to the table. Now, there's some difficulties and hurdles that come about as you're building your team and as you're building your customer base and all those things. The thing I had to realize was that I did things differently. I built my team differently. And a lot of times I'd see what people were doing and I'd feel a little bit inferior because I wasn't doing 5,000 team calls and I wasn't always doing Facebook Lives and I wasn't always making videos. Now, I would do those things when I felt like I had something to say, but I didn't do them all the time. And for a long time, that comparison kind of imprisoned me because I felt like I was doing something wrong in the fact that I wasn't doing things just the way everyone did. So that's one last huge tip that I'm going to tell you is that comparison is going to paralyze you. Comparison over how you're reaching your team, how you're leading your team, how you're reaching your customers, how you're doing it. If you're comparing how everyone else is doing it and thinking you're doing a bad job, it's just going to paralyze you. So the biggest thing I have to say about being an introvert is look for the things that you're good at, look for the things that you're strong at, and really, really, really focus on that. I'm going to tell you, you're going to have to overcome fear, and you're going to have to reach outside of those comfort zones, but that it will be totally worth it. And every time you move out of your comfort zone a little bit and you do something that's hard, whether that's asking a person, reaching out to a person, seeing something that they're doing and knowing, oh my gosh, I have the answer for them, and ripping that Band-Aid off and talking to them about it. Every time you do it, it gets a little bit easier. If you had told me that I would have been speaking at Super Saturday this year 4 years ago, I would have told you were crazy. Because I did do it 2 years ago with 3 days notice because someone backed out, and I cried and cried and cried and cried for days. This time when they asked me, I was able to just say yes after about 2 hours of thinking about it. Every time you do something that's hard for you, it gets a little easier and it stretches that line out a little farther. So if you're at the very beginning of this and you're thinking, I don't know what to do, I don't know how to do this, just do that one little hard thing, that thing that's just a little bit outside your comfort zone, but do it in a way that feels natural to you, that feels authentic to you. And that's pretty much what I have on building your business as an introvert. I hope that has been beneficial at all. I'm sorry if I rambled. Like I said, my brain is kind of a hot mess tonight, but I really just more wanted to speak from the heart and just deal with a few issues that I know we have. And I'm happy to take any questions if someone has a specific question. I'm happy to do that.
Oh gosh, girl, I know you don't feel like you said much, but I'm already getting messages. Is she listening to my conversation? Is she in my head? So you are speaking the language we need.
Okay, good. I felt like I was rambling a little bit, and I was like, I'm trying to get all these thoughts out.
No. I know a question that gets asked a lot is, how do we motivate a team full of wholesalers?
Well, a team full of wholesalers is a little tricky to motivate because that is their goal. So I don't know that it's motivating the wholesalers. I think it's sifting through and finding the people that you know have potential and that you know their lives were changed and you know that you can see it. And I think that's where you go to motivate. Like, you cast the vision for those people. I mean, there's going to be plenty of people that it doesn't matter what you say, what you do. I mean, there are a lot of wholesalers that just have zero interest to be anything but wholesalers. And you're not going to be able to force them to be motivated. But I think if you can dig through and find the potential diamonds, I mean, that's the thing. Like, Jen saw it in me when I didn't see it in me. And I've had people that I have seen it in that they didn't see it in. But I thought, oh my, they have the belief. Their lives were changed. They have the drive. They have the influence, you know? And so sometimes it's a matter of pouring that in until they have the belief. It's just kind of like sometimes you need to do a little bit of CPR for people. But if it's the people that you're like, they're never going to do this, do not waste your effort on those people, because you can't drag people up that have zero interest, zero passion, zero drive. So I kind of look for the people that I see it in already, and maybe they don't see it. And I've had people that I'm like, okay, you have sent me 7 customers. You are selling this. You are doing this. Come on now, you know? So I don't know if that's a total answer, but
I think it is. I think it shows to stop putting effort into people that are never going to do it, and focus on those that are really laid on your heart. Focus on those that you see potential, and I think everybody can relate to that.
And the other thing to remember is that just because someone's not going to do it now doesn't mean that 3 years later they're going to come to you and say, okay, now I want to do this as a business. Because I've had that happen too. I mean, one of my very first ambassadors, it took her 3 years, and then she was like, okay, I want to give it a go. I've watched you. You've been doing this now for this long, and it's still working really great for you, and you're still succeeding at getting new customers. So I want to try this. And then, you know.
Timing is everything.
Yep.
Who has questions? Anybody? You guys remember you're all. Oh, Christy, go ahead. You guys are all muted, so you have to unmute yourself.
Yeah. I am a fellow introvert, and I was so looking forward to you being on here. So you had mentioned that you don't do a whole lot of cold calling, just because it's not super comfortable. It's not my specialty either. But when you do it, if you do it, how do you recommend going about doing it?
Well,
is there a certain way that you?
I'll be honest, I really pretty much never do it. But that doesn't mean that I don't strike up conversations with people and start engaging them to where it's not necessarily a cold call, but it starts connections so that we do maybe meet for coffee and things could come up organically. So that would be maybe what would be considered a cold call, cold message for you would just be reconnecting with someone and just authentically asking how their lives are going, and, you know, rebuilding those relationships just over time. And when I say that, I'm again saying really care about them. Like, don't go after them thinking, okay, I'm going to do this just so I can get a sell.
Right.
Reconnecting, because that's all it is connecting with people. And we have to be out there. If we're not out there, I mean, it's network marketing. We have to be out there. Yeah. So maybe just doing that, maybe reaching out, maybe an income producing activity for you is going to be just messaging someone and saying, hey, you were laid on my heart for this reason, that reason. I've been really thinking about you. How are you doing? And after a few messages, maybe if they live local, I would love to get together with you. Let's go have coffee. And maybe as you're asking them about their lives, that's one key thing I will say is that asking lots of questions is huge, and listening, because people will give you openings to authentically, organically bring plexus up if you're listening. People love to talk about their health. They love to talk about being broke. They love to talk about all these things and give you opportunities to bring it up. You just have to be listening. So I would say that in that situation, it's more what I do is looking for ways that we can get together. And if it doesn't come up in that coffee meeting, that's fine. It's not a bust. This relationship is building. And again, I'm not really looking at people as a sell. I just know that there's a lot of people out there that need this. And if I can help them in a way, then I'm going to. And that's the thing about the yellow personality. We're very nurturing usually, and we want to help. So I would think if you can wrap your brain about it in that way, that you're not just cold messaging, you're really just trying to build these relationships and connect. It's not as intimidating that way.
Okay.
Does
Thank
that
you.
help?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Who else? I think just looking at our crowd, we have a lot of introverts on tonight, so I don't know if you're going to get any questions.
I know, so they're like, I'm not asking a question.
I know, right? Should I start calling out my introverts? Let's see.
Yeah, they don't like that.
No,
Just so
they don't. They don't.
I got a question.
Casey's not introverted. Okay.
So because I have a lot of wholesale ambassadors, and I've had a few people take off, and get a few ambassadors underneath of them, and then they just kind of stopped and haven't done anything else, But what do you see in people? I mean, is it conversations that they say? I mean, I've got some broke people that are wholesalers, and I really know that, and I try to build up, and it's like, let's do this, and then it's like dragging them, and it's like, I don't want to be their manager. Like, I don't want that. I want them to go after it.
And that's the thing, like, you can't want it more for someone than they want for themselves. One of the key things I look for is drive, because that was, even though I told Jen that I had no interest, well, I was reading the team pages, and I was reading these testimonies, and I was researching the products. And when someone had a question for me, I found the answer myself. So when I see people that have that go-getter attitude, then I'm going to fuel them. I'm going to be cheering them on. I'm going to be their biggest cheerleader and be like, oh my gosh, you remind me of me. This is what I did. When I see people do this, I know they can go to the top. So that's one of the things I really look for. When someone asks me for feedback and I give it, if they act on it, that's a key thing for me. If I have someone that comes to me 15 times and asks me for feedback and I give it and they never, ever, ever do what I suggested, then I'm like, they're not there yet. Doesn't mean they won't be there one day, but maybe means their why isn't big enough. So, that's another thing. If you have someone that is saying they want it, getting them to really have a why and then reminding them of that on those tough days, because we have them. It doesn't take a back office apocalypse to have them. There's going to be tough days anytime, even when things seem like they're smooth sailing. You're going to have someone that decides they don't like the products or whatever. So that has to be bigger. And I would think that's one huge thing. If that why is not big enough, that on a bad day or with a customer that gave up, if that was enough to make them give up, then something's not clicking there. They don't want it bad enough, and you can't want it bad enough for them. Doesn't mean that they're not going to one day. So I'm not just saying write someone off. But those are kind of the things I really, really, really look for. The go-getter and the follow-through. Those are huge. I don't really have interest anymore. And it doesn't mean, and I don't mean this ugly, but the people that just constantly want to gripe and say they want help, but then don't do anything on it. I just don't. I have too many people that just want it. you know? So those are the ones I'd look for. And then, you know, sometimes it's just a matter of people being a little bit insecure. So sometimes if you can look for the little wins for them and blow that belief into them, sometimes that's all people need is like, hey, I see this. Look at your PV, look at your volume, look at the amount of customers you've got this month. Even if it's 3 or 1, it might be huge for them just to have gotten a new customer that month, and they might just need some affirmation. That's where kind of knowing people's drivers and personality types really helps. But if it's someone that is just, you're constantly trying to drag, I don't know. I just say they're not there yet. That doesn't mean don't still send them a note. Don't follow up. I'm not telling you any of that. I'm not telling you to write off someone. I'm just saying, you know, don't spend all your time on that person.
That was good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Who else? I have one more question, Miss Heather. What would you say is the number one thing that you would tell somebody, whether they're just starting out or they've been in this business for 3 years, the number one thing that somebody has to do or whatever to succeed?
Well, I would say consistency, and that would be consistency in everything. So consistency in personal development, because you have to grow yourself. Oh my goodness, becoming a leader, even if you don't think you're a leader now, you want to try and develop into the person you're going to become. So I'd say consistency and personal development. I would say consistency in learning the products. And that doesn't mean you have to be an expert. You don't have to be a PhD. You don't have to be a medical professional, but some basic understanding so that when people ask you questions, you can answer them and help them. Consistency on posting on Facebook. And I will say, if you look at my wall, I have fallen off of that lately. I've also fallen off getting customers lately. And I did do that a little strategically because I've been doing this over 4 years. So I'm trying to re-engage my customer base a little bit, my friends outside of Plexus, trying to pull them back into my life a little. So there was some strategy to that, but especially if you're starting, consistency on that. But consistency on posting wisely. So it is keeping them engaged in your life. It's not just puking Plexus on them. It's all of it. Engaged in your life, seeing how Plexus fits in your lifestyle, all of the things. And then following up with people. That's huge. I mean, that's where a lot of people drop the ball, because you get a customer and that's great. You can't just stop. You have to reach out to them, because a lot of times those customers that quit on you, if you had just followed up, they wouldn't have quit, because you could have troubleshooted. Usually it's something as simple as they needed to eat something higher in protein or take their Slim at the same time as a meal, or they weren't drinking their water. Those were things that could have been troubleshooted really, really, really quick. And that was the difference between making or breaking them. And I would say treating your wholesale customers or your wholesale ambassadors like customers. So following up with them too. So I would say those are my top things. It's just really consistency, but follow up as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Who else? Anybody else? Carrie Gregg, you always have fantastic questions. You have nothing for me, girlfriend?
Well, I had a fantastic question. No, it's already been answered. So, but as long as Kristen made me speak, I can't actually spit out words tonight. Apparently,
you're good. I'm struggling.
But thank you, Heather, because every time I ever post a question on Team Plex It Forward, you're always right there with a great answer. And
well, you're welcome.
That's very helpful to have that.
Well, thank you. We try hard. That's one of Nikki and I's goals, is to always engage and make sure people really have the help they need.
Well, you'll do a really good job, because there's a lot of people on that page. So
yeah, it gets tricky sometimes.
I usually just, somebody, if somebody has an answer to this question, that'd be great. But often it's you. And I'm like, well, that's pretty impressive.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, well, let's take a photo, guys.
Oh, gosh, I'm all shiny and gross tonight.
Me too, girlfriend. It's fine. fine. That's what Instagram filters are for. It's
Exactly. So just promise me you'll do that.
okay. I'm not very good at this picture taking thing, though. You're going to learn that, too. Usually I have my Amanda Foster's who used to do this, and she returned to college. I mean, what the heck, right? Like,
I know.
We have priorities. For mom's honor, I guess I would say something else. College is important.
Yes.
Bill's like, Tristan, shut up. Okay. Everybody say cheese. All right, guys. Anybody else got anything? All right. Heather, thank you so very much. I know this is a crazy day for just taking a couple minutes out to love on us. We love you. We adore you. We're so thankful for you. And we cannot wait to see you in Vegas.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it. And thank you for having me. I enjoyed being on, and I hope Amber is doing good. I hope the babies are cooperating for her.
She is. Izzy, Eli, I didn't even say that. His birthday is today. He's 5 years old.
Yay.
He is 12 days old, and I think I read that he's over 10 pounds, which, you know.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, I think I just saw that. I got to go hug on him and love on him on Thursday? Yeah, Thursday. Oh my gosh.
Talk about that.
All these
baby time.
Babies.
Babies.
My youngest baby is 12, so it was awesome. I haven't held a newborn in a long time.
And he's not a good depiction of a newborn. 10 pounds at 12 days is not, that's not true.
Yeah, it's actually how all my newborns were, so it's normal for me.
Oh, man.
I feel like it's normal. All right, guys. Well, thank you so very much. We'll see everybody next week. Same place, same time. We have another guest speaker, but I can't remember who it is. So, anticipation, you gotta wait. All right, guys. Have a good one. Thank you.
Bye.